Hello, beautiful souls. I hope you are all having a wonderful day or evening so far, depending on where you are in the world when you decide to watch this. I wanted to come on here to talk about the new moon in Cancer that began yesterday, but we are still currently in that energy today. So I wanted to touch on what we've been moving through as a collective and also do the Cancer season archetype reading that I haven't gotten around to doing until today. So before I get into that, I wanted to touch on the energies we've been moving through as a collective. There's definitely been big shifts that have happened over this past week in particular. We had Saturn shift into retrograde motion in Pisces last Saturday, and we also had Neptune shift retrograde also in Pisces on Tuesday. So a lot of Piscean energy moving through the collective. And if you haven't read my posts that I've recently published on the energies, I would invite you to do so. I published articles on my blog, on my website at iamthedragongoddess.com, so feel free to check that out if that resonates for you, where I did a bit more of a deeper dive into the energies and what we can anticipate as a collective, because these retrogrades will be lasting for a couple months. So to touch on those energies briefly on this live, there's a lot of upheaval going on within the subconscious energy of the collective, because Pisces does rule the 12th house, and in the 12th house we find not only spirituality, but we find mental health, we find the subconscious, and we can also find ties and connections to past lives. So there's a lot of energy moving through the collective, and the initiation into this energy sort of began when we had the full moon in Capricorn a couple weeks ago, because we had the moon in Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn, and then the moon shifted into Aquarius, who's also ruled by Saturn, and then the moon shifted into Pisces, and Saturn is in Pisces. So a lot of Saturnian energy moving through. We went from an earth sign all the way into a water sign. So we're talking about big shifts happening on the physical vessel, which can be very heavy, the mental body, and the spiritual body. So big shifts happening on all levels. So as a collective, a lot of us might be feeling a little scattered and all over the place because of these energy shifts. And the more sensitive among us might really be feeling these energies. So our highly sensitives, our empaths, even some of our starseeds might be wondering what the heck is going on. So with all these big energy shifts happening, we are being invited to just really take the time to dive into our subconscious and to really sit with what is coming up for us at this point in time. And I've personally been moving through a lot of subconscious fears, but also past life fears that I hadn't even processed yet has also been coming up to the surface. And with Neptune being retrograde in Pisces, we can anticipate our dream time to be even more vivid. Some of us might even be experiencing panic attacks, more anxiety, and we are also prone to having nightmares and kind of having sleep where we find ourselves in between the stages of sleep. So sometimes you can have these dreams where we're not completely awake just yet, but we're not asleep either. We're kind of in this in-between realm, and this is an invitation to just be open and receptive. And this can be very scary and uncomfortable, especially if the images, the visions, and the experiences that want to come up for you to process at that time are uncomfortable or could be trauma-based. So it's really important for us as a collective right now to just hold space for ourselves. Hold space for this emotionality that wants to come up from the subconscious realm, from past lives, and that might be surfacing in our dream time. And at the same time, to do our best not to get swept away by it, because I'm getting the image of a storm, but this storm is being held in a bowl. So it's realizing that we can't be one or the other. We can't be the storm, and we can't just be the bull holding the storm. We are consciously both at the same time. And that's really the invitation that's coming through for the collective at this time, is not how are you one or the other, but how are you both simultaneously. So as we integrate this teaching, as we integrate this lesson as a collective, moving forward over the next 4 to 6 month period, we're going to come out on the other side feeling more embodied, feeling more integrated and whole. And this brings me to the archetypes that have been leading us for Cancer season. So months ago, I drew cards for the whole year, selecting cards that were going to depict the archetypes guiding us forward. So archetypes are a more tangible form of energy. It's easier to associate and connect with an impersonated energy as opposed to an intangible energy. So when we think of archetypes, we can think of the queen, we can think of the musician, we can think of the poet. These are all archetypes. And already when I mention the archetypes, the words, we can already start to have visuals pop into our heads. We think of a queen. Okay, we picture maybe a woman wearing a crown, wearing a beautiful robe. We think of a musician. We picture someone with musical instruments. Maybe they're singing. So this is where archetypes help to give a tangible feel to energies. So that's why I do incorporate archetypes in the work I do. So for this season, we have the Queen archetype that came through. We also have the Nectar that came through again. And then we also have the Hunter and the Medallion. So when I first tapped into these archetypes months ago, the main message that wanted to come through was that there was going to be divine union taking place. So for any twin flames, soulmates, it doesn't really matter the labels. If you have been in separation from your person, the channeled message that came through at that point in time was that there was going to be physical union during Cancer season. And I find it really interesting that we have the Queen and we have the Hunter. So both these energies depict the divine feminine, and when we have the divine masculine also showing up. And as I've been kind of tapping into these energies myself, and being the one that initiated separation within my own physical union, it's easy to get caught up in the words being used to describe the connections, be it being overly attached to twin flames, soulmates, what have you. And the guidance that has been coming through me as I've been sitting with these energies is not about putting yourself in a box anymore. It's about realizing that you are the all. So whatever you are personally going through, your twin, your soulmate, whether you're physically together or in separation, it doesn't matter, because you are everything at the same time experiencing itself. And I'm being called to touch a little bit on the twin flame soulmate dynamic, again, however you want to call it, to illuminate a different pathway. Because we tend to think that there's one that's predominantly masculine and one predominantly feminine. And to a certain extent, this is true. And I apologize ahead of time if there's noise, because there's a lot of movement going around where I am right now, but I hope it's not too disruptive. So as I was saying, there's this tendency to put ourselves in these boxes. And the timeline I'm being shown for the collective is one of deep integration and embodiment, realizing that you hold both energies. It's not a matter of being one or the other, but being both. And as I sat with this, there's this tendency, again, when we're in this twin flame soulmate dynamic, to be like, okay, well, they're the masculine or they're the feminine, they're the runner, I'm the chaser, etc., etc., etc. And the invitation and the calling that's really coming through as I've sat with these energies is to realize that you embody both. You are both simultaneously the chaser and the runner. And it's realizing that we are multidimensional. So why would you attach one label to yourself? that gives you a one-dimensional energy. Oh, I'm the chaser, he's the runner. Because as I've been sitting with these energies, both partners embody both energies. Both partners have the chaser and the runner energy within them, because simultaneously each individual is chasing something and or running away from something. Now, the degree of these energies present might differ. You might have someone who is 60% runner and 40% chaser. So it's on a spectrum. We have chaser and runner energy, but it's understanding that you're the embodiment of this whole spectrum. You're not one or the other. You're not the feminine or the masculine. You're both. And it's realizing that the timeline that's going to be opening up for the collective, especially in November of this year, is embodiment, is integration. And it's not one or the other, but both. And this is where integration truly happens. And that's what we wanted to come through in regards to the twin flame soulmate dynamic. The other energy that wanted to come through was in regards to our human self and our soulful self or higher self. Again, whichever word you want to use, doesn't really matter. But there's kind of been this tug of war, this back and forth energy. There could be indecisiveness. There could be a struggle with committing to a path. There could be self-sabotage also happening, because we're just really feeling torn and just confused. And it's understanding that we always have the freedom of choice. And the energy that wants to come through is that some of us are choosing to surrender and wait on the sidelines for the divine to give us the go-ahead. And this path can be beautiful, but it can be deeply frustrating, allowing the divine to fully take the reins. And the timeline that's opening up during Cancer season, and it's funny that I'm getting this visual of reins, is that we are holding the reins with the universe. It's not the universe or us, it's both. And in the same fashion, it's not our human self and our soulful self, it's both. And for a lot of us, especially with all the shifts into Pisces that have been happening lately, there's this tug of war where we might have been experiencing our human self kind of take over more than our soulful self. And we're being invited, especially under this new moon in Cancer, to not only show ourselves more love and compassion for this fight we've been fighting within ourselves, but to allow that compassion and that love to flow outwards. Because it's really compassion and love for ourselves and the other that's going to allow this integration to happen. Because as we shift from moving through fear to moving through love, this is where we allow our higher self and our soulful self to really come down and rest within our physical vessel. And I'm being invited to circle back to being the chaser. If we're constantly feeling like we're chasing something outside of ourselves, our soul is somewhere else, it's in some foreign destination, or maybe it's going to this event or what have you, you're pulling yourself further away, because your soulful self has always been within you. It's always been right here. And Cancer season is inviting us to really tune into our hearts and to shift our gaze inwards to how we are already embodying our soul in movement through our actions. And if you're finding that hard, there's resistance coming up. Move through the resistance. Now, the energy of resistance, there's two different pathways that usually opens up when there's resistance. We're usually invited to either go with the flow when there's resistance and to just let it take us. And then the other timeline is to anchor in and not let external forces push us around. And I believe as a collective, we're shifting into that second timeline where we're starting to really anchor into ourselves and not let external forces push us around. And for me personally, the forces and the energies that have been coming up for me to just anchor into and not let them push me around is really accepting that I'm here to fully, actively walk the path of the healer. So for those of you that know, I call myself a healer, and it's not about the title. It's not about the word. It's about the lifestyle. And the lifestyle for me is being in my gifts. And I do that in private all the time. But doing it more publicly has been a struggle. And that's where I've personally pulled away for a little bit to kind of dive into these limitations, these fears. And earlier today, I was reading a post by one of my sisters, Temple of the Goddess, and she was talking about how what could be coming up for the collective right now is fear of your own power. But when I read that, I read fear of your unknown power. And with all the shifts in Pisces that have occurred for the collective, I definitely sense that this is another energy that is coming through for us at this time, is the fear of our unknown power. Because some of us can tap into our energy, our power, and sense kind of where it would take us if we were really to allow it to unfurl. But for others of us, it goes even further out where we don't even know the extent of our power. And that unknown aspect of how powerful we truly are is causing fear. And the other energy that is coming through the collective today is the need to allow grace. Because as we move through fears, as we reclaim more and more of ourselves, as we do the conscious work to heal, it's messy. And sometimes when we've been on this journey for a while, we can hold ourselves to extremely high standards and be very unforgiving of the mistakes we pose. Because we tell ourselves, well, I'm more conscious. I am aware of this, yet I still reacted like this. I still got triggered. And it's in realizing that it's not about being so hard on ourselves. Fundamentally, as souls, we all chose to come here to be an embodiment of consciousness in one form or another. And if holding yourself to higher standards is what's suffocating your energy, there's a need to release that. And realize that whether you call yourself a healer, a channeler, an oracle, life isn't always going to be perfect. There's going to be some messiness. There's going to be some volatility, some chaos, some emotions. And it's not about taming those energies. It's about letting them flow and responding when needing to. Because I know for me, personally, there's been a lot of energies that have been coming up, and when there's a lot of energy that comes up for me personally, I tend to isolate because I'm like, I want to get a handle on this before I come out in public and deal with it. But it's realizing that there needs to be a balance with me doing work behind the scenes and then me exposing that work in public to see what's going to unfold. So the other big shift that's coming through for the collective is if you resonate with walking the path of a healer, an oracle, a channeler, feel it in your heart that that's the path you're meant to walk, we're going to be getting the pull by the universe to walk that path more publicly. And it is going to cause challenges. It is going to cause distress. But this is where we need to tap into our hearts and know that we have the necessary skill set to respond appropriately. And that regardless of what the response is in the situation, it's exactly what's needed for our growth and the other person's growth. Because sometimes as being conscious and awakened, we can tend to want to save people from their own pain, their own distress. And we can borderline kind of fall into people pleasing a little bit in that instance, because we can be very psychically receptive, perceptive of the other person's emotional needs. It's easy for us to shift our own energy to accommodate those needs. But over the upcoming months, we are going to be encouraged to shed that mechanism, because it's not serving us and it's not serving the other person. And I'm going to be very blunt right now. Sometimes people need that intense response from us to be triggered and go later on and reflect on the incident. What growth are you preventing others from having by people pleasing? By forcing peace in a scenario or situation that doesn't call for peace just yet. Maybe it calls for the expression of anger, of rage. Maybe it calls for deep vulnerability, where you cry and really open up your heart to the pain you've been carrying alone. So we're getting these big shifts within the collective when it comes to our emotional responses, especially for those that have been walking a spiritual path that might kind of be strangling themselves with their higher standards of, okay, I see where this person's coming from. I know why they're acting like that. And it doesn't matter. It's trusting your responses, your emotional responses. I know that can be hard to digest, especially if emotionally you feel a lot. I feel a lot, and I know that Spirit is calling me to just show that emotionality more and to act on that emotionality. And it's hard because sometimes we can be taken by our emotions. We can be swept to sea. Sometimes we can cause damage also, right? But it's understanding that as we move through these energies within Cancer season, we have the mother that is holding us as we move through all of this. And the mother, we think of Mother Nature. She creates spectacular storms that sometimes cause immense damage and destruction. But that doesn't stop her. She still comes through with her storms, her tornadoes, her hurricanes, her strong winds, heavy rains. We can't tell the mother, well, stop that because it's destructive or it's damaging. She just is. And I believe it's that essence of just is within us that is coming through to be illuminated during this season. And since we are a new moon in Cancer, the sky is dark. There is no moon, but there are stars. So there is always light, and we're being invited to reflect upon the twinkles of light that we can still find within ourselves, even when we are emotionally turbulent or maybe emotionally destructive. And it's understanding that that emotionality needs to come out. And that as sovereign souls, we all signed up for that. We all signed up to either be the storm or to be the witness to the storm. And again, as we can expand our consciousness even further to take in even more, we'll be able to learn and anchor into these teachings and these lessons that the divine is actually offering to us. Because as someone who has been the person that is angry and that has also been the one witnessing the anger in others, it's an experience that is happening for your soul and that other person's soul. And we need to release trying to micromanage what is happening within the experience. We might say, well, I get overly emotional, or maybe I cry too much. And we tend to try and, what's the word? It's not filter ourselves, because it's stronger than that. Censor ourselves. We're like, well, I need to keep it together. I need to not break down. I need to not get enraged. I need to not be angry. And it's understanding that as I speak about all this today, it's going to be different for each and every one of you. So as always, take what resonates and leave the rest behind, because this isn't going to resonate for everyone. This is going to be for the souls that feel a lot and that have been withholding their emotional expression to not hurt others. But it's realizing that you're holding this energy and you're not allowing it to flow out. And the universe needs this outer flow of energy right now, because that outer flow of energy is what helps orchestrate these experiences for other souls. So we're being invited to stop kind of emotionally tampering with stuff because we want to try and keep the peace, or we want to look spiritual, or we want to maintain this image of the healer. And it's realizing that there is no such thing. We are all just souls at the end of the day, regardless of the label you decide to put upon yourself, regardless of your lifestyle. We're all aspects of consciousness here to have an experience. And as we can tap into that and bring in maybe more neutrality, more objectiveness, and less judgment upon ourselves and others, we allow ourselves to just be. And as we tap into this flow of beingness, we naturally release censoring ourselves. We start to just know where the water wants to take us. We stop putting these dams and being like, well, I don't want to reach out to this person because I feel this or I feel that. We allow the energy of the heart to flow through. And it's this flow through of the heart that is the energy that is most aligned with our soul, because this is where our soul lives. And as soon as we can allow ourselves to start acting from this place, it becomes easier to just be ourselves. But it takes work. Because as I've mentioned, there's definitely this energy of resistance moving through the collective. So making the choices to move from the heart is not going to be easy. We're going to have to move through resistance. We're going to have to move through discomfort. We're going to have to move through shame, guilt, fear, because there are these energies currently present within the collective, unconscious and subconscious, but coming up for us to resolve and release as a collective. So if you're being encouraged by your heart to do something, but fear is like, oh no, don't do that. That would be silly, or that would be stupid. Do your best to follow your heart. And yes, there is going to be resistance. There are going to be challenges. You might not completely know what it is you're doing, but this is where you need to trust in yourself. That as long as you are moving from love, and love is your intention, you're going to be just fine. And everything is going to work out the way it needs to for your highest timeline and the other person's highest timeline. And the more we consciously move through this resistance, acting out of love, the easier it becomes to be the embodiment of love. So that is the main transmission that wanted to come through for the collective at this time. Please feel free to let me know how that resonates for you or doesn't resonate. I would love to hear from you in the comment section. We're now going to move into the second part of today's transmission, which is going to be messages from the archetypes guiding us for this season. And we're also going to intertwine new moon energy into this reading, as well as we have some shadow energy that wants to come through and some subconscious energy that wants to come through. So this reading might be a little longer than usual. I might do it in 2 parts, but we'll kind of see how it goes, because I do have 4 decks I want to use today. So we're going to get into it. And given that we are in Cancer season, I'm going to be following Cancer placements throughout the astrological wheel. So we're going to start with Cancer in the first house and go from there. So, oh, and before I get into it, actually, circling back quickly to the guiding archetypes, I've already touched on the Queen and the Hunter, divine masculine, divine feminine energy, and how we embody both. But then we also have the medallion and we have the nectar. So there's definitely going to be rich rewards coming through for the collective. Either you've been experiencing these rewards already since we're into Cancer season. It's been like a week and a bit. Or you're going to be experiencing them. But as always, these readings are not set in time since time isn't real. So whenever you watch this, this is what's going to be coming up for you. So we have nectar, which is definitely divine love, either within yourself or with a person. And then we have the medallion, so winning at something or winning something. So take that how it resonates, but those are going to be the archetypes kind of structuring today's reading. All right. So as I mentioned, I will be using 4 decks for these readings. So we have this one, which is, well, I'm drawing a blank on what this one's called. Give me one sec here. The Secret Language of Light. And then we have the Work Your Light Oracle. And we also have the Shaman's Dream Oracle. And then lastly, to finish it off, we have the Threads of Fate Shadow Edition Oracle. So the way I have this read structured so far is it's going to be a message from your soul, a message from the Divine Mother, since Cancer is ruled by the Mother, which is the moon. Then we have a card that's going to kind of depict the subconscious, what may or may not want to come through. And then lastly, we're going to pick a card to see what kind of fear you might be moving through. And then lastly, we're going to finish it off with a moon affirmation, given that today is the new moon in Cancer. All right, so without further ado, if you're still listening, let's get into it. So Cancer in the first house. So Cancer rising or ascendant. This is going to be your reading. Oh, okay. So Cancer in the first house. We have Soul Tree coming up for you. Soul Tree number 21. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw all 4 cards because I definitely feel that they're all going to build upon each other. So we're just going to go ahead and do that. So your soul message is Soul Tree, card 21. And your card from the Mother is Subconscious Message. And then Shadow Message. All right, let's see what we got. Ooh, okay, so message from the Mother, we have answer the call. What is your soul calling you to do? And this card came out in reverse. And then Subconscious, we have Whale Song resonating. Card 61. That also came out in reverse. And then we have Sacred Sexuality as your shadow card coming through. And it also came out in reverse. So really interesting. The only card that was upright was your soul card, because your Mother card, your subconscious card, and your fear card were all in reverse. But I'm going to turn them upright so I can just tap into the energies. Okay, so right away, Cancer in the first house, there's definitely a separation between your soulful self in your physical vessel at this time. Just seeing that your soul card was in upright and all the other cards are in reverse. So there's definitely a gap, energetically speaking, between your human self and your soulful self at this time. And there's kind of different timelines and themes coming up for you, Cancer, in the first house. So for some of you, it has to do with your career, your vocation, your calling in life. And there's two kind of main energies coming up. So for my Cancers in the first house, there's the pathway that has to do with the career or vocation that your soul wants you to follow. And it may or may not tie in to sacred sexuality. So I'm sensing that for some of my Cancers in the first house, either there's a lot of healing that needs to be done around sexuality for you at this time, or that you are meant to be a healer within this context. And I find it interesting that we have Whale Song resonating 61. So the 6 plus 1 gives us a 7, which is very Cancer-based energy, because if we think of the tarot, the 7th card is the Chariot, and the Chariot is ruled by Cancer. And the Chariot in the tarot is a card that depicts victory. It depicts forward movement and motion. So there's a need for you here, Cancer, in the first house, to move your energy. For some of you, if you can, going to visit either places where there's sacred water. And sacred water, it's not necessarily a location that's depicted as such, but it's mainly a location that you personally feel where the water is sacred. So this could be a nearby stream or river or lake. And there's also the possibility of spending time in nature where there are mountains. That's going to help kind of activate this energy, because if we come back to your soul card, there's Mother Gaia here, physically depicted. And then we also have this beautiful tree. And then we have what could be the sun radiating back here. And then this could either be Sirius, the star, or this could be your own either stellar gateway chakra, your soul star chakra. So there's different images going on in this soul card, but there's definitely a deep connection to the mother here for you, Cancer, in the first house, with Gaia being depicted within your soul. And it's also knowing that you are deeply connected to the angelic realm too at a soul level, whether you're aware of this or not. And part of your soul path, whether you know this or not, is going to be to anchor in these high vibrational energies. We also have the 7-7 portal happening tomorrow. So again, we're getting a lot of 7 energy coming through for you, Cancer, in the first house. I'm also sensing that your soul star chakra, the one that is above your crown, is going to be getting activated over the upcoming weeks. And this is regardless of when you watch this. So there's a lot of activations that your soul is going to be bringing forth for you, Cancer, in the first house. And that it's going to take a while to just anchor it in, because you can see the up and down motion of the light here from the soul star chakra all the way in to the earth. So this is the earth chakra here as well. And then we are being illuminated by what appears to be a huge sun at the back, or it could be a different planet. So there's going to be an activation when it comes to all of your chakras, so more light can come through. And it's this light that's going to help you answer the call of your soul. Because as I said, this card came out in reverse, so you might be kind of second guessing what your purpose is. Is that the full moon, or is that also the sunrise coming? So regardless of that energy coming through, either lunar or solar, these activations are going to help you figure out what your path is. And it's really interesting because as I look at all of your cards, there's a sphere on all of them. Look at that. The sphere there, sphere here, And then on both of them, for some reason. Why is that doing that? Okay, well, I think I'm going to cut it here and try coming back. That was weird. Okay, we had a few tech glitches, but I think we're okay. That was strange. Okay. So, spheres. Working with that shape, either getting a crystal that's a sphere if that resonates for you, because the shape of a sphere versus other shapes is that spheres permeate energy throughout the shape of the crystal. So versus like a point where the energy is directed here, a sphere, the energy is directed throughout. So holding a sphere could be helpful in terms of just spreading the energy in all directions. And then also we have roses here on this card. So working with roses, rose petals could be helpful and supportive. And in terms of meditation, listening to frequencies of like the whales or recordings where there are whales could be helpful as well, because I'm definitely getting for Cancer in the first house that you've been longing to know what your calling is and why you're here. I'm trying to tap in and see what else I'm getting, because I've moved the cards around and she's now looking forward. And as I'm looking at the cards, the whale is also looking forward. So for some of my Cancers in the first house, there's definitely something to do with the moon itself. So tapping into where the moon sits in your birth chart, the sign, if there's any aspects going on, is going to be helpful for you at this time. Feeling a hair on my face. And for those of you who like whale music and meditation music resonates, it's going to help relax your subconscious, because I'm definitely sensing that there's kind of been some tension and stress around this part of yourself. But listening to frequencies that alleviate anxiety and stress is going to kind of massage your subconscious and allow these energies to start moving, because I'm definitely sensing that there's heavy energies within your subconscious that want to start moving around, but they need more space, and listening to these types of frequencies is what's going to create that space. So it's interesting because there's different energies here. There's a lot of water energy, and there's also a lot of earth energy coming through. So also practices where you ground your body. So either practicing yoga, tai chi, that kind of stuff, where you're really present in your vessel, is going to be very helpful. Okay, I'm going to put a short disclaimer because the following message should probably have a trigger warning, because there's some heavy energy that wants to come through, but I do want to forewarn you. So with sacred sexuality being here, there could be some unprocessed trauma in regards to your sexuality or sex that has occurred, and processed grief or pain. It needs to come up. It needs to be resolved. But it's kind of hindering your path. So the image I'm getting, instead of it being an actual block, let's say you're in a tunnel and then there's just like a huge rock blocking, that's not what I'm seeing for you. It's not a full block, but it's just, there's debris. There's clutter. Like, it's not a clear path forward. There's some rocks you need to climb on, like with your hands and your feet to get through. So the tunnel's not completely blocked, but there's a lot of rubble that you need to work through. And some of this rubble has to do with this energy. So what I'm sensing for you, Cancer, in the first house is a need to heal your relationship with sacred sexuality, with your sacral chakra, and to really ask yourself, how do you feel about your sexuality? How do you feel about your sexual self? Does that spark discomfort, shame, guilt, fear, or pain? And to just kind of navigate those energies. And I'm hearing navigating those energies while listening to soothing frequencies is going to be very helpful. So you're really being encouraged, Cancer, in the first house, to tap in to your sacred sexuality while listening to soothing frequencies, and to journal at the same time, and to not filter what wants to come through. Because for some of you, my Cancers in the first house, you might start automatic writing. You might ask questions and then automatically start receiving the response. And you're being invited at this time to just allow that to happen, to not second guess yourself. Because there's a lot of activations that are coming through for you, Cancer, in the first house. And these activations have to do with your soul. All right. So I think I'm going to go ahead and pull your moon affirmation and see if there's anything else that wants to come through. I assess matters carefully and discern wisely. Waxing gibbous. And it's interesting because we have a finger pointing towards the moon. So moon energy for sure. I'm picking up solar for some of you, but it's predominantly moon energy. So Cancer in the first house, learning about your moon sign, knowing its placement and tapping into that energy is really going to be helpful for you. Because I definitely sense it's going to help you not only unlock more aspects of your soul, but really start to anchor in that connection to your soul in this life. And also the number 3 could be significant for you at this time. So I definitely sense that there's more that wants to come through for you, Cancer, in the first house, but it's not being shared with me at this time. So I think I'm going to close out this reading here, and feel free to let me know how that resonates or doesn't resonate. I would love to hear from you. We're now going to move into Cancer in the second house. So if you have this placement or this energy resonates, this is going to be your reading. So let's get into it. All right, so soul message for Cancer in the I almost said the first, well, I did say the first house again. Interesting. So they're feeling that one, subconscious message, and then fear message. Let's see. Oh, that's way too many cards. Okay, well, we're going to go with that one. No. Okay. So, Cancer in the second house. Let's see. Oh, this card is exquisite. Look at this. We have Inner Voice 28 coming through as your soul message. This is making me think of the Kingdom of Heaven is the vibes I'm getting from this card. That's beautiful. Oh my God. We have Keepers of the Earth. You are not alone. Ancient ancestors stand beside you. And it's interesting because already we're kind of getting similar imagery being depicted. We have like hands here and then like a bunch of just like celestial energies. And then we kind of have the same kind of depiction here, but through ancestors. So we have those wings also. Very interesting. And then we have Beloved, Radical Acceptance, number 2. So it's like this heart on fire. And then we have Compassion as the fear aspect coming up. Okay, Cancer in the second house. I'm already feeling a lot of just like fiery energy, but so within the solar plexus, but also within my heart, kind of just radiating through. And there's a lot of heart kind of shapes and imagery throughout all of these cards. And interestingly enough, we also have the moon here. Okay, so Cancer in the second house, the first message that wants to come through is that your ancestors are saying hello. They're coming through to say that they're proud of the work that you are doing, and they're also saying to not give up, to hang on and keep going, and that they have always been with you in those moments. And I'm kind of being shown instances where you might have been really upset for some of you, and I'm starting to feel like the sadness come through me right now. For some of you, you might have just broken down into tears and like fell to your knees and just kind of wondered why you've felt so alone and isolated. And your ancestors are coming through to say that you've never been alone. They've always been watching over you. And they're coming through today to share with you that the main activation and message that wants to come through is that you're going to be getting a lot of heart activations over the upcoming weeks, months, and years for some of you. Because with having Cancer in the second house is predominantly ruled by Taurus, and Taurus is an earth sign that moves very slowly. So for some of my Cancers, this energy is going to take some time, but it's really going to radically change who you are for the better, because Cancer can be a very sensitive sign. It can want to keep the peace, not engage in conflict, and your ancestors are coming through to really set your heart on fire, in the sense that you're going to feel empowered through the love and compassion you already embody. And this love, this compassion that you already embody is going to be set on fire. And this in a positive way, in the sense that this fire is going to allow you to set better boundaries. It's going to allow you to speak your truth and to really feel fiery, to feel confident, to have self-esteem again. Because as I'm looking at this compassion card, I'm definitely sensing that for a lot of my Cancers in the second house, holding on to this compassion has caused a lot of kind of death in your life. And death isn't a bad thing, but for you in particular in today's reading, it's death that has been painful, in the sense that your over compassion and kindness with people has caused pain within yourself, has caused death within yourself, in the sense where you've lost parts of yourself to these connections. You might have been involved with a narcissist, for example. And it's understanding that every time we refuse to speak our truth, there's a little part of us that is quote unquote dying, because we're choosing to not express it and give it life. And you're being encouraged, Cancer in the second house, to look at those times where you gave in to that fear of the other and chose to put their needs above your own. And all those times you caused many deaths within yourself because you refused to express what was truly within your heart. And this energy is not going to be easy to navigate or process for you. I feel grief, I feel sadness coming through for me at this time. But you have the loving support of your ancestors. And you also have the divine. As much as this is your soul card, like this is your soul, Cancer in the second house, this is also the divine coming through to say you've always been held. So you have hands holding you here, and then you have ancestors also here, hands wide open, holding you. So as much as you might have gone through a lot of pain and grief and sadness in your life, you've been held through it all. And you're being encouraged at this time to lean into those hands. Lean into that support and let your subconscious, all this unprocessed fear that's been lingering, set your heart on fire. And we have radical acceptance. We have beloved here, and it's an invitation for you to become your own beloved. And through that intense fire that's going to be coming up, allow it to change you for the better, because you are going to become this light warrior, this warrior of the heart. And setting boundaries, speaking your truth is going to come through a lot easier for you in the upcoming weeks and months. For some of you, years, but it's mainly months for most of you. And it's realizing that you're going to be putting your foot down. You're not going to be letting people walk all over you anymore. And this is actually a very beautiful thing. With also this card symbolizing your soul here, 28, we have a 10. We have 2 plus 8 gives 10. And 10 is closure. It's completion. So your soul signed up to come here to complete a cycle. And you have your ancestors here. So you chose this specific lineage to come through and close out a cycle. And this cycle has to do with your heart. And I believe that this cycle has to do with that radical love that you do embody subconsciously. But you're being invited and encouraged to own it, to step into that energy. But first you need to move through these mini deaths that you have been causing yourself by not speaking your truth. And as you move through these deaths, more compassion is going to flow through. But it's going to be that radical, fierce compassion that doesn't take shit from anyone anymore. It's not going to be that people-pleasing love. It's not going to be that fake peace energy either. A lot of you guys are going to be becoming like emotional gangsters in the upcoming months, if you're not already, because this energy feels intense, but like it's a really bold and sexy energy too. Like it is time, because fundamentally at a soul, this is you. Like look at this. This is purity. This is divine. We see hearts all line up here. We see these angelic hands, angelic clouds. Like this is beautiful. This is your soul. But on an earthly level, this is you. Or what you're meant to become is just this badass with a heart on fire that doesn't take shit from anyone, that sets boundaries like a boss. And this is the energetic shift that is going to be happening for you, Cancer in the 2nd house. Whew. Intense fire energy for sure. So we're going to go ahead now and pull your moon affirmation. See if we can get one final message for you. This card says, I will persist. My will is strong. I think that is a beautiful energy to close out this reading, and it matches these colors. So a lot of fire activations happening, which is the solar plexus. So you'll probably be feeling these energies within your solar plexus, which is located right above your navel, and or within your heart. But as always, if you are worried about these sensations moving through your physical vessel, please seek out medical attention. I'm not a doctor. I am a channeler. So please get the right support and assistance for yourself. But those are all the messages I'm getting for you, Cancer in the 2nd house. Feel free to let me know how that resonates or doesn't resonate. I would love to hear from you. We are now going to move into Cancer in the 3rd house. So if you have this placement or this energy resonates, this is going to be your reading. So let's see. Soul message for Cancer in the 3rd house. I'm feeling this one. Oh, that one just popped out. subconscious card, and last but not least, fear. Let's see what fear wants to come up. All right, so soul message for Cancer in the 3rd house. Ooh, we have card 35, light beings. And this card came in reverse. Okay, we also have the inner temple, devotion, tune into the portal of your heart as your mother message coming through. And this card was also in reverse. We have Sky Bridge, possibility for union. Also in reverse. And then we have, oh, actually there are 2 cards here. Oh, interesting. Okay. We have the Warrior. Trying to show you this card as best I can here. The Warrior. And it was stuck to Ascension. And both these cards were upright. So it's interesting. All your cards are in reverse except for your fear cards that want to come through. So this is really interesting. So first and foremost, I'm definitely sensing with your soul card being light beings in reverse that this is confirmation you are a galactic being. Your origins is not this earth. You come from elsewhere. And with this card coming in reverse, for some of you, it's either you are unaware of this connection. You're going to be becoming aware of this connection in the upcoming months, or you're going to be receiving soul galactic activations during your dream time. So you're going to be connecting with more of these light beings during your dream time. For some of you, meditation, but I'm more so feeling during your dream time. I'm just going to reposition myself because my leg is starting to cramp. All right, there we go. And then your mother card is Inner Temple. And this card also came in reverse. And interestingly enough, if you really look at this temple, there are stars there. Just like there are stars on your soul card. And interestingly enough, your Warrior card and your Ascension card also all have stars at the back. So there's definitely big galactic activations that are going to be happening for you in the upcoming months. A lot of these activations have to do with your light. Light that you remain unaware of. And it's interesting because as I look at both of these cards, they look similar. Look at the imagery on these. We have a circular form of light. We have kind of like a stairway. And then we have 2 pillars. So to me, there is the goddess coming through and there's the god energy also coming through. So big activations for Cancer in the 3rd house that have to do with these energies. So we have lunar energy, we have solar energy, feminine, masculine coming through, galactic energy coming through also. Otherworldly, we could have other realms coming through. But it's just opening yourself up to these energies. This is really interesting. This reading is going in a completely different direction than the other ones. And if we look at your soul card, we have planet Earth and we have stars. We have the Milky Way. We have different planets. And then we have like this being here and this Milky Way or galaxy here atop their head. So definitely crown chakra activations coming through. So I'd say crown chakra, solar plexus chakra. And with the warrior card coming through, to me, this is symbolizing with all this galactic energy, this is confirmation that you are a warrior of light and you are meant to embody higher vibrational energies in this life. And you're meant to lead the charge with your embodiment, with these energies. Because it's all galactic energy I'm picking up in this reading, which is very fascinating. And I'm being drawn to the 47. So we have the 4, we have the 7. The 4 in the tarot is the Emperor. So it's this energy that's able to just really ground in leadership and to take decisive action. And then we have the 7, which is a highly spiritual number. So part of your path, Cancer, in the 3rd house is to really tap into these celestial energies and ground them into the physical realm. And you might be feeling a little scattered and all over the place because of the ascension symptoms you might be experiencing and feeling at this time. So I'm getting the message that your light body is either being activated if you're already aware of all this, and if you're not, your light body is awakening. So that's why you might be, if you've been walking this path for a while and you're just like, yeah, I definitely feel it, more activations coming. If you're new to these kinds of energies, it's going to feel a little heavier because you are awakening to them. But as soon as you awaken to your galactic imprint and origins, these activations are going to be a bit more easier to perceive. It's going to be easier for you down the line to know that activations are happening because you will have received a bunch of activations. And it's interesting, I'm being drawn to talk about the dark night of the soul. When you first go through one, you're like, what the fuck is this? But then you go through the experience, you come out on the other side. The next time you go through a dark night of the soul, you're already going to be able to pinpoint, okay, I'm going through another dark night of the soul. So for some of the souls in this group, either this is going to be an awakening that's going to be taking place for you, and others it's going to be an activation to just propel you forward onto your path. And it's interesting because as I look at this card, we also seem to have pillars depicted. So something to do with pillars, which is building something. Again, we're circling back to that 4 energy. 4 is a very stable number, and it does symbolize structure, foundation, building something. So Cancer in the 3rd house, you're here to build something. And it ties into galactic energies, whether you're aware of this or not, and whether you intentionally act upon those energies or not. So what do I mean by that? So for some souls, working directly with starseeds is their mission. They'll call themselves starseed healers, guides, what have you. So that is a direct connection to the galactic energies. We're here to help starseeds. For others of you, it's going to be indirect. So you could build, let's say, it uses energy to build something. So for both kind of timelines, you're here to build something, but for some of you, it's going to be more galactic in nature, and this is going to be direct. And for others of you, it's going to be more subconscious. You are going to be aware of this, but other people involved might not be. And it fundamentally doesn't matter because you will be fulfilling your soul mission. And again, that's why I think I'm getting both these images here. For others of you, it's going to be more in the physical, tangible realm, and it could be housing people. It could be creating an organization that provides relief after a hurricane. So I hope you're able to pick up the kind of different nuances between these two different kind of energies. I think I'm kind of struggling to explain it verbally, but you can kind of just sense by looking at these cards. And for some of you, it might be a blend. Or for some of you, you might actually do both. But those are wildness and dance in pleasure. Moon god Dionysus. I wouldn't be surprised if you've been feeling an array of different weird emotions and energies, because there's definitely a lot of planetary influences moving through you at this time. So that's all I'm picking up for Cancer in the 3rd house. Feel free to let me know how that resonates or doesn't resonate. I would love to hear from you. We are now going to move into Cancer in the 4th house. So if you have this placement or this energy resonates, this is going to be your reading. Let's see. That's too many cards. Oh, well, it flew out. And fear card, let's see. All right, so Cancer in the 4th house. We have, oh, this is beautiful. Soul Love, card 33. This is your soul, Cancer in the 4th house. We have a near perfect alignment of all the chakras and the energies. And it's interesting because the chakra in the middle here, it's yellow, so we could think it's the solar plexus. But based on its position, we could think it's the heart chakra. And to me, it's just the heart chakra radiating out pure source light. So this is what you are meant to fully embody as a soul, Cancer in the 4th house. Already, very beautiful heart energy coming through. Then the card of the Mother is the initiation coming through. Rite of passage, crossing the threshold. So I'm already getting messages for Cancer in the 4th house, so we're just going to go with it. Cancer in the 4th house, things have been feeling like this. Dark, gloomy, and depressive. You might have been going through the occasional emotional storm here and there, and just feeling that there's complete chaos all around you. And this has been on purpose to prepare you for the next step, which is crossing the threshold into paradise. Because your paradise, Cancer in the 4th house, is coming. There's also a bunch of snakes here. So snakes could be a spirit guide of yours. Snakes are also connected to the goddess Lilith. So you could have a connection to that goddess as well. So Lilith has always been with you with all the snakes here, even though you've felt in darkness. And it's actually Lilith that is guiding you to this threshold where you're going to feel completely rejuvenated, relaxed, and happy is what I'm sensing. So that's kind of like the blessing that the Mother is bringing for you. And then in terms of subconscious message, we have 29, horned cactus, resourcefulness. So you could be 29, you could be turning 29, but this is an activation that's going to be coming into play in regards to your subconscious. It's going to be tuning into the frequency of resourcefulness and realizing how versatile you actually are. And I'm sensing that this initiation, this threshold that you're going to be crossing, has to do with this resourcefulness. So you're definitely going to be putting different skill sets into practice in the upcoming months and years and your whole life with this soul love card coming through. We have the card 33, which is master healer energy. So walking the path of the healer is your calling in life. Whether you do that actively, passively, it doesn't matter. You have the healer imprint within you. And you're meant to fully embody it in this life. Live it, breathe it, be it. Regardless of what that means to you. In terms of fear, we have the warrior coming through. Very interesting. And this card is upright. And I'm being drawn to the ram. symbolism here. So Aries energy, very present here as well. So what I'm picking up for Cancer in the 4th house is really a need to step into more divine love and to really be this embodiment, but be it as a warrior. And it's understanding that as a warrior of divine love, you can set boundaries. You speak your truth. You don't uphold peace just for the sake of upholding peace. If war needs to happen, war needs to happen. And you're ready to go there. Because this is what you embody. This is what you bring to the table. I'm kind of picking up that some of my Cancers in the 4th house have been prickly or feeling prickly lately. So taking some time to rest and relax. I'm kind of being drawn to the sunlight here, spending time in sunlight, relaxing, going somewhere warm, and letting solar activations kind of clear out this heavy, gloomy energy is going to be helpful. So spending time in the sun is going to be good to kind of soften these prickles, if that resonates for you. I'm trying to see if there's anything else that wants to come up for Cancer in the 4th house. So there's also going to be stellar gateway activations happening for my Cancers in the 4th house. So the stellar gateway is our connection to the galactic realms and cosmos and beyond. And that's going to be happening. So you're going to be getting these activations. So you might be feeling spacey and kind of out of body experiences because you're having these higher frequencies descending upon you. And that's for you to start to integrate and embody them and share them with Mother Gaia. If you're feeling kind of spacey, disconnected and detached and kind of disassociative during this time frame, spending time in nature, grounding your energy is going to be very helpful. Practicing yoga as well. And going to a beach, somewhere where there's sand, putting your feet in the sand is going to help you integrate these energies. We also have crows going off right now, which is interesting. Additional confirmation. Going to the beach, relaxing, Cancer in the 4th house, so you can receive these activations, because I'm definitely feeling tension within the body. But spending time at the beach is going to facilitate the integration of these activations that have already been happening. And it's going to make them a lot easier. And it's going to soften this prickliness that you might be experiencing. So that's all I'm getting for Cancer in the 4th house. We're going to pull your moon affirmation and see what wants to come through. So we have, I am curious about my true nature. I seek to understand myself. And we have a person looking at a mountain and there's rocks, there's water. So again, feeling that beach energy, that water vibe. So spending time near a body of water in the upcoming weeks is going to be helpful to just really integrate, because that's kind of what I'm sensing for a lot of my Cancers in the 4th house. You have just been kind of pelted nonstop with activations and just energy downloads that want to come through, to the point where it might be causing undue exhaustion and fatigue, migraines, aches and pains, joint pains, back pain. And the best thing you can do right now is to just allow space for rest and relaxation. So if you can, go on a vacation, go spend time at a beach and allow these activations to take place, because it's just, I'm kind of feeling resistance and friction to these activations doing their thing. So it's kind of causing more chaos within your physical vessel. Your dream time might be particularly disturbed at this time as well. So kind of, I'm getting the image of solar naps. So if you can, go to the beach, anywhere where you can kind of just spend time safely in the sun and just allow yourself to rest, meditate, and visualize these activations integrating within your physical vessel with ease, and even setting that intention. Speak to your guides and say, hey, these activations have been intense. Can they be gentler, please? Or I need a break. Can we delay some of them? I need rest. So really engaging in open dialogue with your guides in regard to these activations is going to be very supportive for you, Cancer in the 4th house. Because there's a lot of movement, a lot coming through. But you need to cultivate the space and the inner calmness to let them do their thing. So that's all I'm picking up for Cancer in the 4th house. Feel free to let me know how that resonates or doesn't resonate. I would love to hear from you. We're now going to move into Cancer in the 5th house. So if you have this placement or this energy resonates, this is going to be your reading. All right, so let's see. Soul message. Message from the mother. Let's find out. Subconscious message. And last but not least, fear message. So let's see. Cancer in the 5th house. All right, so your soul message, interesting, is soul love. Again, similar. Same card as Cancer in the 4th house. So we have soul love coming through for Cancer in the 5th house as well, which is really interesting. Okay. And then in terms of mother message, we have align your life. What is not aligned or needs to change. Subconscious message, we have the crossing, initiation, 54. And that card came in reverse. And fear, we have 2 cards that came out. Again, they stuck together. We have sacred sexuality. And we have take risk. With this cute little goat. And both of those came upright. All right, so first message that is coming through for Cancer in the 5th house is that there's an initiation that wants to take place in regards to your deep held fears that have to do with sacred sexuality and taking risks. But this initiation that needs to take place hasn't been taking place because there's a lack of alignment in your life. For some of you, you're still wearing a mask and have not fully stepped into embodying who you know yourself to be. And with this card coming through as your soul message, this is who you are at a soul level. It is love. We have 33, which is the master healer. So it is a healer of love. This is the energy you embody, whether you're aware of it or not. But there's some friction in your life right now, causing misalignment that is preventing you from fully embodying this. And this card here, and it's interesting that the mother is bringing this card, this energy up to your attention. This is what's preventing you from the crossing into this next portal and into these next parts of your journey, which have to do with sacred sexuality and taking risks. So for some of you, and this is not going to resonate for everyone, the message that wants to come through that is that it has to do with starting your own business. Some of you are holding back from taking that leap out of fear And for some of you, is not feeling good enough, not feeling as though you know enough to just launch yourself into this business. But Spirit is coming through to say, yes, you need to trust and take that step, because you're on this bridge here. You are here. And the portal into the future and the life you want is already here. But you need to be brave enough to move through it and head into this portal. For some of you, the lack of alignment has to do with how you speak about yourself. For some of you, I'm picking up that you're very hypercritical of your talents, your gifts. Some of you second guess yourselves and don't think you're good enough for this project, this business, whatever this venture is. And that's what needs to be released and let go of. And it's interesting because in both of these sphere cards, we have a sphere-like energy coming through. We have a sphere circle here and then a sphere here. And I'm taking it to depict the moon. And then this could be the moon and or the sun, but could be either or. So if it's moon energy, there's a need for you to really tap into your emotions and where your moon is in your birth chart. So tap in to where your moon is in your birth chart, what house it sits in, and what zodiac sign it's in, because that's kind of where part of this friction I'm sensing is coming from as well. So either your moon energy has been taking the lead and has been directing your life so far, and so there's a need to gain more control over your moon energy, or there's a need for you to tap into it because there's been emotional repression. So it's going to be different for each and every one of you. But the final outcome is this energy. And it's interesting because we also have a lotus at the top here. So you're meant to embody higher energies similar to Cancer in the 4th house. But there's a need to kind of do some shadow work for some of you and some conscious reprogramming to really get your life in alignment. And there's a need to take that risk when it comes to yourself, to redirect your life and to just bet on yourself. So as I'm recording this, we have a new moon in Cancer. As always, new moons are an opportunity for us to set intentions around the new beginnings we want to call into our lives. So if this feels in alignment for you, take the time to write that business plan. Take the time to write down the steps to manifest and create this venture, whatever this is, because that first step is usually the hardest. So just taking the time to write that stuff down is already going to start clearing out this misalignment energy. And for a select few of you, maybe one or two, this venture has to do with sacred sexuality. So for some of you, you might be feeling awkward or maybe uncomfortable with pursuing either a business that's rooted in sacred sexuality, but there's a need to take risks. And you have kind of Capricorn energy coming through. So looking at your moon placement, looking at where Capricorn sits in your birth chart, since we're in the 5th house, Capricorn's in your 11th house. So 11th house of network, humanitarian causes, friends, and such. So there's a need to really take a risk and to build something. And to kind of get out of your own way is what I'm sensing for Cancer in the 5th house. And as soon as you kind of drop those judgments you hold about yourself, crossing this threshold here into this initiation that needs to take place is going to become a lot easier, because look at these. We have a lot of light energy pouring through these cards. There's a lot of light within you, Cancer in the 5th house, but you need to allow that light to be your guide through the darkness, through your subconscious, and through your fears. And allow that light, this soul love, to guide you to cross the threshold into this new portal that is opening up for you. And it's interesting because we have the 7-7 portal tomorrow. All right, so that's pretty much all I'm picking up for Cancer in the 5th house. I'm going to draw a moon affirmation card. Oh, there we go. We have, I am connected to the earth and all life around me. Moon goddess Artemis. So working with the goddess Artemis could also be beneficial for you at this time. And we also have a dog on this card, and we have a bear. So bear spirit, dog spirit, goat spirit. These are all animal guides that you could tap into at this time for additional support and guidance. So those are all the messages I'm getting for Cancer in the 5th house. Feel free to let me know how that resonates or doesn't resonate. I would love to hear from you. And I think I'm going to take a quick break, and I will be back to finish the reading for the remaining houses. So until then, I'm sending you all so much love.